It's that time again. It's another episode of AZ Update Post Ignite Special. How's it going, everybody? I can't tell you how excited we are to have you all here today. I know you've watched hours and hours of video, so we're very thankful that you're here with us to do the AZ Update report. Joined as always by Mr. Thomas Maurer. Thomas, say hi to everybody.
Hey, hi everybody. Good to see you, Anthony. I'm happy that you're still alive and you caught up a little bit of sleep after this fantastic week we just had behind us.
Here's what I don't understand, right? Like last year, my step counter went, through the roof in terms of capturing steps, and I was not even half as tired as I am today. It was a very busy Ignite, which was awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely, it's crazy. I think it's probably even more intense because we were really like I think over 48 hours just around the clock live. So we were able to be basically, as you said, 48 hours online, which hopefully we did. I hope most of us hopefully didn't spend like 48 hours awake, but I know that a couple of people are very close. But we had some exciting news and stuff going on this week. So my question before we actually start with some of the announcements, what was like some of your favorite parts of this year's Microsoft Ignite? Which were your favorite talks?
I have to say the highlight for me was the sit down between Panos Panay and Brad Anderson. Oh my God, that was the for me, it was such an open conversation that they had between each other. It was something where tossing of ideas back and forth. It was what are we doing for the company? What are we doing partnering together? Because now they're partnered together, working on the services and solutions. Two big things that came out of that one. The first, Bill Gates said a PC on everybody's desk, and Panos said, Windows in everybody's hand. And immediately everybody jumps and says, oh my God, that means the phone, that means the Duo, this is so awesome. And it's like, whoa, let's take a step back. And it's, Windows in everybody's hand doesn't necessarily mean a phone. It could mean a tablet, it could mean a Surface, it could mean a Surface board, it can mean a HoloLens. There are so many different, facets. I'd argue the Surface headsets that you're wearing is a flavor of Windows because it incorporates Cortana and what have you. The way that we traditionally think about Windows is much different than just a simple desktop that we log into. It's the portal to access services that matter to us most to accomplish what we need to accomplish.
Yeah, I love that segment. That's why, that was really one of the most interesting and most engaging videos and parts of the show. We had many others which are really great, but I also really much enjoyed that because they played back and forth. It was super funny, and as you said, there's some interesting stuff going on. What I also liked what Panos said was when you look at Windows, the operating system, he basically said there was never so much development investment in Windows as right now, right? So this is kind of like really insane that so much is going on.
And then the other piece that was intriguing as well was the whole Panos asking to Brad in terms of Edge. Why should people adopt Edge? Give us three main reasons as to why. And of course, Brad Anderson, in his competitive nature, I'll give you 5. And it was like, okay, let's go, right? But you know what? This is the thing, right? For me, we knew the Internet Explorer capability for those that have internet sites that they have to adhere to. We knew that was an advantage on Edge. For me, the biggest thing was the management capabilities that are offered are on par with what they have in Office 365, directly available inside of Edge. That's huge because I don't have to worry about separate settings for the browser. I can push out the same mandatory template that everybody has to adhere to, and it automatically takes advantage of the browser. If you have a third-party browser, whatever that may be, you would have to use other management tools to manage that. So it's that easier capability to manage the browsing habits of the users in the midst of an organization, and especially if you have ISO standards that you have to adhere to, making it simpler to manage that is a huge advantage.
Absolutely, yeah. The management parts is critical, and I like as again the competitiveness and the way they talked. It was just a very good. So if you go back, like people who haven't watched that yet, if you want to watch a part, you can still go out and watch that, and I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed. By the way, speaking about the favorite segments and about the favorite stuff happening at Microsoft Ignite, it doesn't necessarily need to be the videos. There can be much more. What I find is also very important, if you can tell us what you like the most. So write it in the chat, write it in the comments of the videos, write it in the comments of the blog post. We will know what it means, but just let us know what you like the most. I think that is like something I really look forward to hear from all of our viewers what they like the most.
Perfect. And we have our favorites inside of the chat room already. I see Paul, I see Andrew, I see Tekilas is here. That's awesome. Actually, Tekilas has a remote segment she's going to be sharing with us this week, which is awesome. So yeah, definitely share us your news and your, what did you love about Ignite, and share it in the chat window. We're happy to share it on the show. Shall we get started with the news? Because there is a lot.
I think we should.
Yes. So let's start for the first piece. I had the privilege to sit down with the ethics and AI team here at Microsoft, and there was a lot of conversation at Microsoft in terms of AI being incorporated into a lot of services. Pierre sat down with Heike to talk about how AI is being incorporated into our XDR offering, our extended detection offering for attacks and malicious intent. And so sitting down with the ethics and IT team, I had the opportunity to go through and say, what is the IT professional's role in this? Because of the fact that we are the heralds of the information on behalf of the organizations that we support, and we are, the management piece for the architecture that has been deployed. So it was a great conversation amidst this organization. And what we gleaned out of that was the whole availability of, from the ground up and building out your solution with artificial intelligence, how IT pros can be the heralds of ensuring ethical, proper AI utilization is being utilized. And what was great about it was they actually showed an example in respect to, and my screen seems to be frozen, they actually showed an example in respect to having the ability in a solution like spatial mapping. So in this current pandemic that we're in right now, the requirement for individuals to be spaced out at 6 meters apart, the availability of technology to understand the spacing between people, but doing so in such a way that does without invasion of privacy, and without doing that, getting your personal information just by sight, understanding the spatial mapping and understanding, okay, so there's too many people that are in this area, they need to spread out further, and providing that information back to the buildings that have deployed this solution. And the incorporation of this is made as an example, as part of the resources that the team has to offer to actually enable this capability. So if you're looking at what are the best practices for ethical use of AI, what is IT's role in this, the team has actually put together a full-on portal that we're showing here that shows the capabilities made available in respect to deploying artificial intelligence, machine learning, cognitive services, you name it, from not just an IT perspective, not just an IT pro's perspective, also developer and an end user or a business decision maker perspective, but all the tools made available to you to take into consideration when deploying artificial intelligence solutions.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a very important part when it comes to AI. Speaking maybe a little bit of AI, not really to be honest, but like depends on how you look at it. We have some other interesting news, and I think that one almost, from my understanding, I got super excited, and I think it almost got lost during the Ignite news. So one of the new features the team announced was Azure Auto Manage for virtual machines. So this is one I got really excited about because you can imagine if you run virtual machines in Azure, but also anywhere else, you need to have some operations tasks, right? You need to take care of it. You need to configure backup. You need to have security baselines in place and all of that. And we give you tools for doing that in Azure, and as well as obviously for our hybrid service as well. But you need to go out and configure and do all of that, which ends up in a lot of work. Now, something which the team does is called Auto Manage. And Auto Manage is an easy way to just select, like onboard all these management services to your virtual machines. So all the different management services, as you can think, and I'll show you that in a bit, will directly be onboard on that machine. So backup and stuff like that, but configure. It automatically configures these services then from best practices. And what meaning best practices means like things we learned from our customers, things which you can find in the cloud adoption framework, and it takes that intelligence and puts it together. It monitors these configured virtual machines to see if there is any drift on this configuration. And if there is any drift, it corrects that drift again, right? So that is very excited. And to be honest, I tried it out, I think yesterday. I was like first time trying it out again. It is super easy to configure. It's like really a point and shoot solution. So you say that virtual machine should run this. You can just 2-3 clicks and you're basically done. And you basically onboard all of these Azure Managed services to that machine. And you can configure it obviously and customize it the way you want it. Now, you can also do that, by the way, for people who are not saying I have hundreds of machines, I don't want to onboard that. You can also use policy to actually configure like whole subscriptions or management groups full of virtual machines with that. Or if you just want to go down in resource groups. Now, the great thing is to just give you a little bit more of that. As you can see right now, this service is now pretty new. It's in preview. It's for Windows servers right now only. And then you can see here like what the services are onboarded, right? So we're talking about, for example, backup, configuration management, update management, automation, monitoring, and all of that. So I really love that service, and I really think that this is something a lot of people are going to use because it's so simple and so easy to configure, and you onboard all of that with just like 2-3 clicks, right? Which for many VMs are there. It again brings all the best practices we have from the cloud adoption framework, but also Microsoft security baselines for your operating system. So it's not just like Azure services, it's also like the operating system configuration. So again, if you look out for that, please have a look at Auto Manage for virtual machines.
So Thomas, from the chat room, Andrew is asking, with the Auto Manage solution, is it a bot?
So we don't call it a bot, right? There is no mention of that there is a bot, but we take obviously the intelligence of the Microsoft Cloud and Azure and all the learnings we have, because it's not necessarily reacting yet on, like, for example, I will not call it, it's not something smart. It doesn't go out and see like, how is the weather outside? And that's then how I change the VM settings, right? It does not make that, but it takes basically baselines and learnings and best practices and your configurations and applies it to that virtual machine. So yeah, I was like thinking about, we could also name it as a butler or something. It's just someone who does all that for you, right? So it's just a service you can enable. Yeah, good catch.
Good catch, yeah, definitely. So let's continue on with the news. Next up is a remote segment from Sarah.
Thanks, guys. This week has been absolutely crazy with all the things that have been happening with Ignite, and there's been so much news. I thought I was caught up, but there's tons more that I need to catch up on. However, the bit of news that I want to talk about is a feature called Azure Resource Mover, which was released as a preview feature during Ignite. Now, what Azure Resource Mover allows you to do is actually move your resources more easily between regions. So if you have deployed, say, something in a European data center, so West Europe or North Europe, and you now want to move it into one of the UK data centers, you can use Azure Resource Mover to help you do that switch. Now, Azure Resource Mover is in preview at the moment, so you need to be careful of maybe using it within your production environments, but what it's going to allow you to do is move things like Azure Virtual Machines, Load Balancer, public IP addresses, Azure SQL databases from those regions to regions. Now, there's obviously some caveats. You have to check things like dependencies. What do you need to move with your resources to keep things working the same way that they're working right now? And then you have to be aware that if you're moving Azure Virtual Machines from one region to another, there's going to be some downtime while the machine is replicating and potentially actually gets shut down during that move. But I'm super excited to see how customers use this feature, as I know it's been asked for quite a bit, especially for some of the UK customers who first deployed to a European data centre and now want their resources to reside in the UK data centres. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping to do some more digging into it and hopefully get some time with the product team to talk even more about what's happening. So that's me, and I'll hand back over to the studio.
Thank you, Sarah. That's awesome. You know what? The whole Azure Mover piece and moving your Azure Resource Mover, sorry, moving your resources from region to region, huge advantage. Especially, you know, I've worked with a slew of companies, a plethora of companies that have taken their databases and moved them across oceans to enable data scientists to have cleaner access or quicker access to data or what have you. Having this capability done in an automated fashion without that whole rigmarole of orchestrating the move itself, so beneficial. Can't wait till that goes GA.
Yeah, no, great, fantastic service. Again, thank you, Sarah, for bringing that to us. So, Anthony, there is more, right? There is also some of interesting news for our fans for Windows Virtual Desktop.
Windows Virtual Desktop announcements that were made at Ignite. There were three main ones that were made. I'm just going to share my desktop here. For me, the biggest one is the management capabilities now made available for Windows Virtual Desktop directly from the portal itself. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling down here. So now your endpoint manager has the capability to manage your Windows Virtual Desktop as an endpoint. This wasn't available before, but now, as you can see, it shows up as a device in terms of all the desktops that you would want to manage directly from the endpoint manager. So now when you're pushing out your schema in terms of profiles or management templates, you have the ability to do so directly from endpoint, which is a huge advantage because now you have one pane of glass to manage all your deployments of desktops, regardless of their virtual desktop, bare bones deployment, Hyper-V, you name it, or on a mobile device. You have that capability from the one portal directly through Endpoint Manager. The other piece I wanted to highlight was the capability now to manage applications that run on Windows Virtual Desktop directly from the Azure portal. So now you have the ability to attach applications through the portal to push out to virtual desktops as required for your end users' utilization. Prior to, you would have to push it through Endpoint Manager or other tools to the desktop, but now you can actually push this as a layer directly through the portal itself. Last but not least, there was additional proactive monitoring solutions made available for the monitoring of your use of the virtual desktop. Again, timely in the pandemic that we're currently experiencing for the availability of security or even is there resource blocks or bottlenecks for those deployments of Windows Virtual Desktop that we have to adhere to and manage accordingly.
Yeah, again, I'm amazed how fast the new services are on board to Windows Virtual Desktop. I mean, it is, as you said, it is a critical service right now, especially in this time. We see a lot of interest as well. I think that was also, by the way, coming back to our intro where we talked about Brett Anderson. That is also where he has an interesting part and piece and to share a little bit of numbers about Windows Virtual Desktop and how critical it started to be at the beginning of this year, and it still is, and obviously it's still growing. So that is definitely a super interesting part, and seeing all these features coming together, I'm really happy about that.
Now, Thomas, I know there was a plethora of news for Azure Arc and Azure Stack. Care to share?
I think so. I think we have to talk about this because they did really do a great job. And we were when we prepared this show, we were obviously going to different segments and listing stuff we want to show. We could have created just one show around all the hybrid announcement we had at this Microsoft Ignite, right? So there is this blog post that summarizes a little bit what's going on in the hybrid space. There's a lot more things even which you can find here. But again, when it comes here, it's really for us to find out where are people, where are our customers. They're not just running stuff in Azure. They also want to run stuff in their own data centers, at their own edge locations, in their retail stores, in their factories. And so that is where our hybrid portfolio comes in. And again, I can't stress this enough, very important. There's not just no such thing as just one hybrid solution. We really have a portfolio of products and services and solutions out there which help our customers. So we have a couple of updates here. The first one really, I want to highlight is Azure Arc, right? And Azure Arc really is a milestone. We announced Azure Arc last Ignite. So it's 1 year later now. We have now a couple of news to share. So Azure Arc for Servers, which allows you to manage your servers running outside of Azure, is now general available. So you get full support. You can now go out and manage your servers wherever they are using Azure Arc. And then now Azure Arc enabled data services is now in public preview. So you can actually go out and actually try that service. We had it in private preview. You needed to sign up. You can now go out and do that as well. We still have, obviously, Azure Kubernetes Service or Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes, I'm sorry, in public preview as well. So you can try that out as well. And then we had a ton, again, of Azure Stack HCI and Azure Stack Hub and Azure Stack in general updates. If you look at Azure Stack Hub now supports GPUs, so you can now get hardware with NVIDIA GPUs in there. So if you do, especially when it comes to AI and machine learning computation, for example, that is great. You can get that hardware. And then the other big announcement, one of the largest announcement, again, at least I think so, is AKS on Azure Stack HCI. So we announced Azure Stack HCI or Azure Stack HCI version 2 a couple of months back, and now we announced basically the preview for AKS on Azure Stack HCI. So that allows our customers to run AKS wherever they need it, right? They don't just necessarily need to have it run it in Azure. They can run this managed service also on top of their Azure Stack HCI wherever they need it. We also announced general availability for the Azure VMware solution. I think that is also a big one. So actually you can now run the VMware solutions and general available. So you get all the support again. And we had a lot of interest from customers, also like from viewers in this show about this service. And now that is GA too, and comes obviously with all the great benefits like Azure Hybrid benefits, or when it comes to Windows Server and SQL, like the extended security update support as well. And then last but not least, we had a ton of new devices and solutions when it comes to the edge, when it comes to AI at the edge. For example, we have updates to Azure Stack Edge, the solution. So we have new devices there. We have devices now with GPU support as well. We have some ruggedized solutions and much, much more coming there. Again, endless list of stuff to show. But one thing I want to highlight when we talk about Azure Stack and hybrid is something which a lot of customers are missing, right? Not everyone can have an Azure Stack in their home office, right, to see and have a look at it. And this year, since we did not even have a expo hall where people could actually walk by and look at the devices and like have a look at the hardware, we are offering now the hardware experience app, the Microsoft Hardware Experience app, which basically allows you to have an AR experience of Azure Stack devices wherever you are. So you can have one like me here next to your desk. So for example, this one is a larger Lenovo Azure Stack Hub solution. You can also have, for example, Azure Stack HCI solutions from Dataon and many other manufacturers as well. And then you can also see here, if I can pull this up, I can also put here a very small Azure Stack Edge directly on my desk, right? Which kind of like is the ruggedized version of it. So there's a lot of things you can do with that app. So check it out, and you can download it right now and try out to have an Azure Stack in your home as well.
Now that's super awesome. It's something that caught a lot of attention at Ignite. Quick question: is a HoloLens required to see the device virtually in your room?
That's a good question. No, it's not. The only thing you actually need is a iOS and Android device. So you could basically go out with your phone today. Chances are high that you don't have a Windows phone anymore, unfortunately. So you can go out, download the app for free from the Android Play Store or the App Store on the iOS devices, and then just go out, download it, and just do 2-3 clicks with your finger, and you have your Azure Stack in your home.
All right, so next to jump right into our next segment, which is events. We just finished Microsoft Ignite, so we don't really have any events to talk about. But Richard Hooper in the chat room brought up a great question. Confusion around the announcement of Microsoft Ignite for March 2021. Really quickly, let's talk about this. We have gone to a digital format. Microsoft has said there will be no in-person events happening until July of 2021. That being said, there was such a success with Ignite in respect to the community coming together, everybody having a chance to be vocal on their opinions and ideas. Microsoft doubled down and said, let's run another event, another virtual event, and invite everybody back again to provide their insights, to provide their feedback, to provide, because remember, it's not just about Microsoft talking about the latest services, it's also the opportunity for yourselves to participate in conversation with the engineers directly in terms of what's working for you. And the table talks was a huge advantage to that. If you were able to get in on a table talk, you had the opportunity to directly interact with an engineer and talk about the solutions and how you're deploying them and what needs to be fixed or what needs to be added to make the solution that much better.
Exciting, really exciting. So you're not just having one Ignite. Well, in 6 months we will have more. So that is absolutely awesome to have another Ignite around the corner. We will see, and we hopefully see all of you there as well. Again, as Anthony said, it's not just like a one-way communication, right? It's really about also getting feedback from our customers and speaking about that as well.
Now, the other piece I wanted to make light of at Ignite that occurred is that the team, specifically producer Pierre, has put together a Discord server. So if you navigate to aka.ms/ITOps, no, sorry, let me say that again, aka.ms/discord-ITOps talk. We were having conversations with a lot of you in terms of what was happening at Ignite and the announcements that were being made available. Producer Pierre is chattering in my ear. Did I say that the URL correctly, Pierre? Is it the other way around? I always mess that up. So aka.ms/ITOpsTalk-Discord is where you would want to go to participate in the open-ended chats. Everybody from the team was on there having discussions, and it was great because it was behind the scenes, and we were providing direct responses to those who are having questions during the keynote or during any of the tech talks that were happening during the show. Last but not least, as we always cover on AZ Update, the Microsoft Learn module of the week. This one is a big one because of the fact it coincides to the theme of hybrid enablement that occurred at Microsoft Ignite and brand new released on Microsoft Learn, Introduction to Hybrid Cloud Services. This one was a labor of love, I believe, Thomas, between yourself and Orin Thomas, to get this out the door in time for Ignite. This provides you hands-on testing and capabilities around Microsoft's favorite Azure hybrid cloud services and solutions. So definitely check this out. We have it on our blog, so itopstalk.com. If you look at the latest AZ Update blog post, we have the link that will guide you directly to this, to go out and test out the functionality and gain some concept knowledge on a hybrid deployment. There was a lot of people that, especially in Discord and through the chats that we saw, in terms of, we're on premises now, we want to move to hybrid, we can't do cloud native because of certain regulatory, or we're not ready to move all the way out just yet. What resources are available for us to start learning the fundamentals? Here it is. This is probably the best resource that you're going to hit right now because it's hands-on. It provides you that capability to actually go through steps inside of Azure, full on Azure, not a subset of Azure, full on Azure for free to test out the theories and functionalities of Azure hybrid cloud services.
Yep, that is, by the way, fantastic because, again, in our IT session where we had talked about the IT Pro in the cloud era, many questions came up where we said, actually, hey, yes, we understand we need to go there, right? We need to learn cloud, we need to learn hybrid, we want to do all that, but where do we start? And so that is really the place to go is Microsoft Learn, not just for hybrid, but also for all the other topics around Microsoft technology.
This was a jam-packed show, and rightfully so, right after Microsoft Ignite. Thomas, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
Just check out Thomas Maurer on Twitter or on my homepage, thomasmaurer.ch. Empower!
And if you want to get hold of producer Pierre, you can get a hold of him on Twitter at Wired Canuck. And if you want to get a hold of me for some reason, you can also get me on Twitter at Wireless Life. Thomas, was an awesome show. Sarah, thank you very much for your segment. And yes, if you want to get a hold of Sarah, you can get a hold of her on Twitter at TechieLass. We will see everybody next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.